Hey, deserving listeners, for the very, very first time, I am watching a 90 Day Fiancé season at the exact same time that you're watching it. This is the first time that I've actually started reacting to a 90 Day Fiancé product as it was coming out. And so none of y'all can comment below saying, but Kirk, you don't understand what's going to happen later because you don't know what's going to happen later, and I don't know what's going to happen later. And we're all just going to react at the exact same time. I'm totally excited. Let's get to the show. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's get to it.
My mom can be a little controlling, always trying to tell me what to do.
He says his mom is very controlling of him, telling him what to do. Let's see to what degree that's a problem.
Not controlling.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, a controller. Yeah.
Now, I will say the fact that both the son and the father can say that to her and that she can say, yeah, okay, maybe I am that way, is at least a tick in the column of health. Because if it was past a certain threshold, they would be too anxious about pointing that out and or she wouldn't agree with it. So we'll keep gathering data and see if we get a good picture of to what degree she's controlling of him.
I've never been in a serious relationship. There were some girls that I felt head over heels for, but it was never reciprocated. I was a late bloomer. I mean, I missed all the flirting and stuff, I guess, when we were kids. Girls didn't really take any interest in me, and my friends would always say that, like, I'm small and cute and I'd be perfect for, like, a boyfriend or whatever.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit of data about him, that growing up, he didn't have many, if any, relationships, and he was often friend-zoned, as people say. He seems to be not terribly busted up about it, but it is some background. I'm always grateful when they give us at least some background on their life so that we can situate their behavior later. They often exhibit trauma reactivity or something, some sort of reactivity based on their past. And so it's good to have something to maybe reference back to. But anyway, let's continue watching.
They signed me up for a dating app for farmers.
Yeah, we did.
So I don't know if you caught that, but he said that his parents signed him up for a dating app for farmers. I did not know that. What would it be called? Like plowing or something plow themed?
Trying to give him a push, trying to help him out a little bit because, he spent so much time on a farm doing everything.
And it made sense to us. I had an adorable picture with you and a little mini goat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did.
It was a great picture.
Okay, so it's a little weird, not usual, that parents would sign their son up on a dating app seemingly against his will. It's a little different. He doesn't seem happy about it. So I would, if these were clients, I would stop and ask him, how do you feel about it? Or did it bother you? Were you upset that they did it? Or were you okay with it? What's going on there? I would ask the parents, what was your procedure there? Did you ask him first or did you just bulldoze him? What's going on there? But who knows? Let's continue watching.
She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. I couldn't stop thinking about her, and my first message to her was, "You look like my future wife."
He looks like he stepped right out of a Norman Rockwell painting. So I just can't stop thinking about him in a Norman Rockwell painting.
Will you marry me?
Yes.
All right, as usual, I'm always worried about these individuals because the fact that they're far apart will limit their ability to test the compatibility of their relationship, meaning they're far apart in terms of different countries. It also accelerates the engagement process or the marriage process, the commitment, the moving in process at a very rapid pace, such that you are racing into marriage because of visa processes without necessarily knowing if you're compatible and without necessarily asking each other important questions that are kind of deal breakers. Do you want to have kids? Where do you want to live? What's your religion? This kind of stuff. So I'm a little worried about them, but I guess I'm worried about all the people on this show. So let's see if my worries become realized.
Both of our radars are still out because we just don't know that her intentions are for Brandon and has his best interest at heart.
When I first met Julia, I explained to her I'm not rich or anything, and I couldn't move out of my parents' house yet. I don't know if she 100% understood when I explained to her, like, the financial reasons. She seemed okay about it.
I will say that it's almost universal that the families will suspect, the American families will suspect that the foreign person is out to get a green card and isn't really in the relationship for legitimate, honest reasons. And it raises a big question, and it's a question I guess that I have. There's no way to get inside someone's mind. We only have to watch the show and try to figure out whether or not the person is being honest or not. I will say, maybe it's just the way I look at people, the way I look at the world, that most of the individuals that I've reacted to seem legit. They seem like they are very much interested in spending the rest of their lives with the person that they are coming to the United States to be with. And they also are happy to come to the States. That is, two birds with one stone, as they say. I can fall in love and go to the United States, which is where I want to go. I want to go somewhere other than where I live, and it might as well be the United States or whatever it is. So I'd be interested in knowing if anyone's ever done any research on this. Maybe I should look it up, about the frequency of K-1 visas resulting in divorce within a couple years. Now, a lot of couples divorce even without K-1 visas, right? Something like 40 to 50% of marriages will end in divorce at some point. So the rate of K-1 visa divorces would have to be greater significantly than the average rate for us to say, it seems like there's a lot of people. I don't know, though. I would imagine that it would be quite a thing to have sex with someone and to be with someone and to stare in their eyes and to spend time with them and to cut yourself off from other relationships, to leave your parents, to leave your hometown. It seems like it would be quite a thing to do when you didn't really have feelings for the person that you were marrying in the United States. But can it happen? For sure. And some of the people on this show seem to have some red flags of that, where they don't seem to really have that much affection for the individual. And they're definitely interested in coming to the United States. I think some of us can actually identify one particular individual who just openly said stuff like that. So we can imagine that some of the people on the show are deceiving their person for a green card. But anyway, I will point out that it is interesting that the parents and the family are usually very suspicious. And, I just wonder what that's about. Obviously, they're protective of their child. But I also think it's just this general prejudice. I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't know. Xenophobia, for example, of, surely these other people from other countries are trying to invade our space. They're trying to infiltrate the United States. As a Japanese American, I've seen this talk throughout my entire life. It's not so much anymore, but for the first 30 years of my life, there was a lot of talk about how Japan is invading the United States and they're buying up everything, and our products are being made in Japan, and it's this panic, and there's nothing wrong with evaluating tariffs and imports and exports, but it definitely had a racist thing to it. And the whole time I'm thinking, well, I'm Japanese, I'm an American citizen, and my Japanese relatives have lived in this country for 120 years. Why are you so paranoid about Japanese people being involved in American life? There have been hundreds of thousands of Japanese Americans involved in American life for a long time. Well, what are you so worried about white people? Anyway, so I don't know if there's some kind of racism going on there when the family will be very suspicious of the other person. I also wonder if there's just a lot of stories that people read or hear about people trying to get green cards in very dubious ways. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is there a bias against these people? Is it unfair? maybe it's fair. Maybe you think, yeah, I think people should be suspicious of these people from outside. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
I worry about when I come and we live with your parents and parents don't want we leave.
Don't want us to leave?
Yes, I worry about your mother say, no, you need to stay here.
Oh, she'll
and
say
you
that.
say, okay, we stay here.
No, we'll be out.
I hope.
Now, what I would hope for them is that they would have some pretty specific conversations about the timeline. Often on this show, for him, he wants her to come, and it sounds like he doesn't mind living with the parents until he can afford for the two of them to move out. It sounds like for her, she would rather not from the start live with the parents. And he's saying that he's in debt and he has some money issues. And I don't know if she knows about that. And so these are the sort of conversations I always wish they would just have before they come, meaning that they would say, okay, what's the timeline here? How much money are you earning? What are your bills? When is it? How long will it be until I can work for her? How long will it be until, what can she do for work eventually? If she's going to work, I assume she will. And how, let's work out a timeline here, because often what happens on this show is she's under this impression that it has some kind of solution to their money problems, and he's sort of in a bind and has to live with the parents. They start yelling at each other because she's like, I was under the impression that, and he's like, I never gave you that impression. And I'm thinking, you never talked about it. Like, you got to lay it out. You're adults. You understand budgets. You understand money and income and expenditure and bills. Just have a conversation about it. Me and my wife have conversations about that all the time. It's like, okay, we have this situation. What are we going to do? And to avoid it risks a lot of conflict, which I'm already worried about. Whenever I watch this show at the beginning of a couple, I'm always like, oh God, there's going to be a fight, and that's going to be hard to watch. But anyway, let's watch.
Hearing the fact that she has been a go-go dancer, of course, it made us immediately be concerned. I hope it wasn't more. She wasn't a prostitute or a call girl or something. Of course, Brandon's assured us that she's not. But we hope that when she comes, that's part of her past and not her future.
All right, so the writing's on the wall in terms of the conflict there as well. If I were there to talk with her, I would say, so what is it about being a go-go dancer that concerns you? Do you know what a go-go dancer is? Because usually go-go dancers, they're at regular dance clubs, right? DJ, and people are dancing, and you have some professionals dancing on the stage or in a cage sometimes, this kind of thing, right? It's just performance, like any other kind of stage performance. And so I would wonder if she has some kind of thing in her mind about what a go-go dancer is. I don't even know what she does go-go dancing wise. But anyway, and frankly, she's free to have whatever life she wants to around that, even if it were erotic dancing. So the thing I would want to talk with the family about would be, okay, let's talk about all the possibilities here and what do people want? Because the parents, if we could break it down to its baseline level, they want what's best for him. They are protective of their son, and they want him to have a happy life. Well, the fact that her past go-go dance or any kind of dancing career, does that actually interfere with his happiness? No. It's just a part of what she did in the past, even if it was nude dancing or something. How does that interfere with him being happy? So is it just some sort of prejudice you have about, like, well, if she did nude dancing, then that means she has all these other problems? And I'd be like, well, what other problems? Well, she's probably like a cocaine addict and stuff. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Even if she did have a problem with cocaine in the past, then what? It's important to walk through all these assumptions and prejudices people have, which they have a lot of, and make sure that they're not irrationally attaching meaning to things that don't make any sense. And people do this on the show a lot. The other thing that I would want to talk with them prior to her coming to the family would be to lay out some ground rules about, like, okay, how are we going to work on conflict? Let's say that mom sees something in the new daughter-in-law that concerns the mom. What should the mom do? Should the mom yell at her? Should the mom yell at him? Should the mom not say anything? Should the mom say it in a nice way? Should the mom write a note? Should the mom talk with dad first? What's the protocol here? Because there's going to be issues, so let's prepare. Maybe the mom and the daughter-in-law should talk over FaceTime and say, hey, just want to work out some issues here. Here's what I hope to happen, and for obviously him to be involved in all those things too. I mean, that's just me as a family therapist, but let's see what happens. I guess I'm terrified, to be honest. I could see, now maybe they'll work it out. Maybe this will be a very low drama segment of each week, but somehow I just can't see that. But anyway, let's continue watching.
Hopefully Julia will embrace the farm and she won't mind helping with a lot of the chores that need to be done around here.
I think she'll pitch in. Worst case scenario is Julia comes here, doesn't want to embrace farm life, and hates living with my parents.
Yeah. Julia is already expressing displeasure about the idea of living with the parents. So probably that's not going to go well. And adjusting to farm life, it is not easy to adjust to farm life. I grew up near farms. I didn't grow up on a farm. I grew up in a very suburban house, but I grew up nearish to farms, and you have to be into it. You have to be willing to smell the smells and get your hands in some stuff and to deal with things that you don't normally like, do a lot of chores, a lot of physical activity, getting dirty, not looking pretty all the time. It's a commitment. You have to say, yes, I invite all the negatives about farm life into my life. I just can't imagine someone doing that very easily. Now, maybe she will. But again, it's just another conversation they should have together. It's like, by the way, the expectation is when you come here, you're going to be helping out on the farm. Is that okay? And, have a conversation. Maybe it's not okay with her. Maybe so. Then you have to understand the expectations around that. It's just like, I don't know. I'm just terrified.
I feel like I'm really taking a risk with my heart, my feelings. This is probably the first time in a relationship that I've been this vulnerable.
How sure are you that you and Julia are meant to be?
You know what? I don't know how sure that we're meant to be together, but I just know how sure that I want to be with her.
All right, so that's interesting. I like it when the producers ask questions along those lines. So he had an interesting response. He's like, well, I don't know how much we're meant to be together. I know I want to be with her. I wonder if what he's saying there is, I know I really want to be with her, but who knows? Things could go horribly wrong. When she comes over here for the 90-day thing, maybe we'll find out we're not meant for each other, and then neither of us want to be together. Maybe that's what he's saying. That would be a very rational attitude, because you have to live with someone for a while to know if you're compatible, to know if you fit well. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining me out there. Please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.